So here we are, right in the middle of tooling a long run of half Morocco and full Morocco bindings. We're absolutely in the middle of the sequence here. This book is prepped and ready to go. I'm going to lay on the gold, do all the tooling, and before this book is finished I'll have prepared 2 more so that they go into its place afterwards. It's all about keeping the books flowing through and the tooling consistent and even all the way along. So this has had 2 coats of paste wash on it, and then it's had 2 coats of egg albumen glare. So it's everything on here is organic. There's no varnishes or anything at all. That's got a very thin layer of Vaseline on it, and I'm going to lay onto that now some 23.5 carat extra thick gold. A little bit for the line at the bottom. This has a date across the spine there, and it has lines either side of the bands. There's another bit on here, a line at the top, and a line either side of the bands. Sometimes when the bands stick up a little more than you think, gold cracks, so you have to put several layers on, and sometimes it flies about. This is going to be lettered down the spine with handle letters, so I need to run a line of gold leaf down there, and as soon as that's done I will mark it out ready for tooling. By the time this book is finished, the next one will be prepped and ready to go into the finishing press. So I'm just cutting this into some strips just about the right width. And a little bit of grease off my forehand there. About 4 pieces down the spine. I'll cover that up. So all the gold is now in situ. It's all pressed down. There's a very thin layer of Vaseline holding it on there. I'm just going to do a little dotted palette across the top of the bands first before I start marking them up, and I'm going to do just a little star at the end of that palette just to finish it off. Now, because we're working fairly quickly and these books are moving through fairly quickly, there is moisture in the leather, which is what makes the finishing as good as it is, but there's also a danger that you can have the tools too hot. So if you're working at this speed and the books are flowing through, you need to keep the tools cooler than if you had prepared the book some time previous. So there's barely any sizzle to this, and also a change of glasses. This is just a little star at the end, just on the shoulder of the bands there. Next is a little dotted palette which just goes across the top of the bands. Again, it's cooled so there's virtually no hiss to it at all. Always polish it off afterwards. You'll never get a bright impression if your tools aren't polished. So now I'm just going to use this template to mark exactly where the date line goes, which is there, and then using just a little piece of cotton rubbed in a bit of wax, I'm just going to make a line there, and for the line at the bottom, and for either side of the bands. It's just a little backwards and forwards movement, that's all you need. And because we're putting the date in with a type holder, I just mark the centre and then half the width of the date. So that's my starting point for that. The next thing is some lines. So this is actually this is a 1.5 point fillet palette. Again, right off the sizzle. just goes, just follow the little marks you've just made. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I can see as soon as that tool's gone into the leather that the gold is shiny. It's not it's not blurred at all from being too hot. Now, because we're tooling down the spine, I'm just going to make a little mark where exactly the height of the letters, this is the top of the letters, one mark there, one mark at the bottom, then a clean ruler and a gold knife. I just lay this up to the marks, and you need to keep the gold knife at a very shallow angle to make sure it doesn't rock the gold up at all. That's your guideline for the tops of the letters, and using a template I just mark out, funnily enough, the beginnings and the ends of the words, just so that we know very roughly where we're heading for. So it gives us some degree of consistency. So all the handle letters are laid out in the order that they appear on the spine. Again, you just have to get everyone to just down to the right temperature. So, first one's in. It goes on a suede pad or on your gold pad afterwards. It isn't just to polish the end of the finishing tool, it's also to make sure that you don't have any steam trapped inside the tops of the letters, because if you have some steam in there, a bit of water, and it's bubbling, and as it approaches the gold, it dulls the gold, and when you tool it you get a slightly different look to it. So I'm sort of drying them off as well. So all these letters are sighted just on the top, underneath this line that I've put down here. There's a quality to hand lettering that you don't get with anything else, and that is a wonderful play on light as it reflects off the very slightly different angles. And I always say about this work and all the work we hear, it's accurate, but it's not mechanical. Say you can do this job with your eyes closed. Well, actually you can't, and doesn't matter how many times you put the same title in, you always have to have it written down in front of you there somewhere just to make sure. And the last one. And the reason, as I said in the introduction, that I've done this is because I think the days of people lettering long runs of books by hand are slowly dying out, and there's a certain art and skill to keeping the flow going through. I think it was a good thing to get it recorded. As working anywhere, of course, one of the really important things is to make sure you've got the light coming in at the right angle. This is why this workshop has a big window just behind, just over here, so the light's always coming in from my left. So the one thing I must remember to do is, before I wipe the gold off, is to put the date in, because that's the sort of thing that happens. You just think you're finished, wipe it off, and then you realise you've forgotten to use the type holder. Right, that's the last letter in. The date is set in the type holder because it's going across the spine. I've already made my mark, so that goes across there like that. There's the date. And it's that now, at this point, that I start to prep the next one. So this book here is going to have its first paste wash, so that while I'm cleaning off the gold on the one I'm working on, this one is just beginning to get ready. So take a gold rubber, of which there is ample instruction on YouTube under the Midas Touch. So the gold rubber takes about 90% of the gold off, and a second coat of paste wash on there. Then a little bit of petrol on just a weeble pad or a bit of cotton pad, and get some more of the gold off. It also, not only does it remove the gold, but the petrol removes the Vaseline, which we put on at the very beginning. So now all we have is the natural leather, just with the egg albumin glare on top. So all we do is take another weeble pad or cotton pad, add a little bit of warm water, and by wiping this over the surface of the leather, you will remove the glare from here, so you're back to the absolutely original natural leather. There's nothing left on there at all, which is nice. It's what you should have, really. And this is all veg tanned leather as well, so it's a fairly organic process. Now, I'll just have to get a cocktail stick and maybe pick out a few little bit grains of gold that are stuck in there. I might spend a little bit longer than that if I wasn't being filmed. Just a few little specks in there get stuck in the grain. Now, while I'm just waiting for that to dry off, doesn't need to be very long. I'm just waiting for that to dry off. I'll put the first coat of glare on this book. So it's getting close to going in the finishing press to be done. And the next book, which comes from this pile over here, comes into play. So the very first thing before I do anything, before we put any paste wash on it at all, is I'll just run a hot stainless steel polishing iron over the Morocco just to flatten the grain, just so we can get some smooth impression with the tools. So that book now joins the queue. It's ready to go. This book, I just need to make sure the lines are all the same width down the spine. This can have a quick polish with the polishing iron, which gives the leather a beautiful shine, nice luster, even polishes the gold. And then that book can join the pile with all the others here. I think that's number 50 something. This one goes in here, and here we are back at the starting point, ready to continue doing the run.